I had a couple people that wanted us to talk about what it is like going through withdrawal for their spouses. So it was a lot of people who basically their spouse just didn't get it. They're getting ready to start withdrawal, or they've like been in it for a few days or whatever, and their spouse is like, you got to get up and do this, and why can't you stand up and turn off the light or whatever. And people are having a hard time understanding what it's actually like to go through withdrawal. So give it to me. What you got, Marie? What was the worst thing for you?
That restless feeling of feeling like you can't sit still, like
Mm-hmm.
your body hurts, it aches, you don't want to just lay there, you're sweating, the hot and cold flashes.
You want to lay there, but you can't
Right.
lay there because you keep like you just twitch so damn much.
And you
And
know what else? It's like you lay there, you're sweating, you're hot and cold. You're thinking, damn, like I need to get up and take a shower. You don't even have the energy to get up and let the water hit you. It's like it hurts.
it's because the energy to stand and take a shower is just it's literally like a regular person climbing a little mountain. I don't want to say it's like that intense, but it's hard. Like it is a
Right.
shit ton of work. Taking that shower is like a extremely hard, like hour and a half long workout for a normal person. It's intense. And the difference between that is if you're doing a workout and you're normal, you aren't going through anything, you're going to feel good after the workout. You may be a little sore or tired or whatever, but you're going to feel good. After that shower, you aren't really going to feel all that great. You just wore yourself out. You used up everything you had. So
Yeah. You
it's
have
rough.
no energy to do anything. Nothing. Like I can remember, and I'm being very open and honest right here, when my son was a baby and I was struggling, I can remember needing to get my fix, having a child there, and like knowing that like, oh my God, I gotta go do something with the baby or change a diaper, and just having no energy and just feeling like the worst person in the world because I couldn't get up and help myself, let alone take care of another human being.
A lot of people always ask, how the hell did you work through all of it? And it's like you have to trick yourself into like understanding it's going to be okay, because you will have so much anxiety and freak out so much about the fact that you have to go to work, and oh my gosh, am I even going to be able to make it through work? What's going to happen? Are people going to notice all this stuff? And you literally bring yourself down and put yourself in an area where you will go to work and you're going to fail because you aren't prepared for it mentally.
Years ago, I used to work in a doctor's office. I was an office
Hmm.
manager. And one day I was so sick, I went into work. Well, we had a medical doctor that worked there, and I had the keys to the medicine closet with the samples.
Hmm.
I said, you know what? I'm going to reorganize the closet today, thinking that I would find something in there to help take away my sickness that I felt that day. I found cough syrup bottles with codeine. I drank them all in the fucking closet at work. That's the crazy places that I've gone to because I was struggling that bad.
Well, and whenever you're there, I can't tell you how many times I'd be like bartending or who knows what the hell I was doing, and you'd be working, you'd be miserable. You tell yourself before the shift, I just got to make this money so that I can go get some shit after work. And you'll be halfway through the shift, you made some money, everything's all like good, you just need to be done, and you will find any excuse, even if it could cost your job. You'll find any excuse to leave, even an hour or 2 hours early, just to go get that shit. You can't wait another minute because you're ready to go.
Yeah.
It's
I,
insane.
and you know what I would do? Like if I was waitressing or bartending, I used to have the bartender always like make me drinks. So I would be drinking already on my
Mm.
shift to go get what I needed afterwards. Like, ooh, I
I
was
would
primed and ready.
I would usually do that. when I was bartending, I would usually start my shift with a little something, just like a shot of whiskey or whatever.
Right, right,
And at close, I always had I would make old fashions, like good old fashions, and I'd always have at least one of those, maybe two. And throughout the shift, who knows what I was drinking? Because I was, if somebody bought me a drink or whatever,
right, right.
I,
And I used to steal so much alcohol. We
oh
would
yeah.
take bottles under our shirts and walk out.
I wouldn't do that. It would be it'd be too noticeable, but I would just drink while I was there. Like the managers were cool with it to a certain extent. You just had to do it right.
Well, in the restaurant business, I feel like there's a lot of managers that are really crooked.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So my manager, when I used to work at a place called Bertucci's, it was like a pizza place.
yeah.
And I worked there for years. My manager used to come to me and be like, Marie, if I would take all the tables because I needed to make a certain amount of money in order to leave.
Mm-hmm.
So she would tell me, if you have like a big party of people, let me know. I'll void their check at the end of the night and you and I will split that money.
Yeah.
I was walking out of there with hundreds of dollars on top of my tips because my manager was just as crooked as I was at the time.
Whenever it comes to, I'm trying to think of all the things that actually affect the spouse too, because I know a lot of people they get all bent out of shape like because they can't sleep with their spouse. One, the sexual side of things, even if you are feeling good enough to like be able to do that stuff, you gonna last about half a second. You could have a strong breeze blow across your junk and it's over. So that is a big problem for a lot of guys. At least I've heard quite a few ladies say the same. But on top of that, you also have like whenever you're trying to lay in bed and be with them and literally just sleep, you're moving so much, you're keeping your partner up. Your partner's mad because you leave and go to the couch or whatever. It's a never ending cycle because there's so many different things going on.
When I'm feeling like that, I don't care about what somebody else thinks. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't care. Like
Uh,
when you're in that mental headspace of just feeling sick, I don't care. Like you can't think about anything but the sickness. Like that's me. I'm
I would bring myself down, and it would put me in a really bad place because, like, I'd be thinking, okay, Jax or Carson or whoever wanted to play, and I didn't end up playing with them because I feel like crap. And then it's like, after that happens 2, 3, 4 days in a row, it's just like, now they're going to hate me or I'm a bad father or whatever. Or you end up having all the irritability and everything that happens. And I don't think people understand you aren't trying to be irritable. It's like almost something you can't even control because you're so just the brain fog is so crazy. You haven't slept for so long.
I feel like when you're trying to get sober, you're taking chemicals out of your brain and it's like your brain is learning how to take your emotions. Like we don't know how to deal with our emotions. That's why we self-medicate.
100%.
So you got to learn how to feel those feelings, sit with those feelings, and be okay. And that's hard.
I would feel like a giant pansy because I'd be watching, who knows, like Grey's Anatomy or some shit. Something that never in my life would bother me in the slightest. And somebody would die or something, and I would be bawling for no
Right?
freaking reason. And it's just like, I don't even care about the shit. Like, why am I crying? That would drive me insane.
It's like
It,
a roller coaster. Your emotions just are all over the place. And that's why I really think that in early recovery, you shouldn't try to get into any new relationships. I believe that.
on top of the emotions being so fresh and everything, even if it's been years and years, a breakup is something that honestly, breakups and fights are the number one thing that causes people to relapse, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I agree 1,000% with that. Like right now, I'm going through a situation, you guys know, and it's been a lot of stress on me mentally. It's been a
Mhm.
lot with the kids. I'm doing the best I can.
You just gotta, I don't know, homie. You need a break. That's what you need. Which I
Right.
get. I don't get breaks either. I'm there with you, but sometimes you have to make it happen no matter what. And I feel like it's almost to that point, which we just
That
got to figure out how.
right. That's my biggest issue I'm working on in therapy because honestly, I don't trust people. I have a very hard time learning to trust people. So having people come around my kids is a very sensitive place for me because I feel threatened.
Well, and at this point, man, even if it's like Freddy Krueger or somebody that has to come watch the kids, you dip out. They only got to make it for like 2 hours. They'll be all right. Just
Right.
and
Man, I'm
it'll
telling
all
you,
be
it's
good.
hard. It really is. It's difficult because mentally when you don't get that break and you're trying to stay sober on your own, it's a lot.
Yeah, because of this, it's nonstop. I feel like since I got sober, I haven't slowed down, like not even a day. It's
Right.
even when we're on a vacation or whatever, it's I'm still working every time, and the kids are being crazy. And yeah, it doesn't stop.
Right. And just like even certain things like having the kids on top of you all the time, like going to the grocery store, having the kids acting up in the store. Listen, today, 7 o'clock this morning, I was in the grocery store. I come back, my I had groceries in the trunk and I had some in the car. My kids, my daughter popped my trunk. Everything came out smashing all in the street. The gallons of milk cracked open.
How the
And
hell did that even happen?
because she opened up the trunk and I didn't, and the groceries must have been leaning on the trunk and everything smashed. I, I literally felt like I was going to lose my shit.
We had that happen. Well, not that, but yesterday we went to the mall just to try and have some us time, and it was just me, Shannon, Carson, and for some reason I feel like Carson's hanging out with like the neighbor boys too much and Jax, um, and just the like ADHD and not listening thing is shining through because she's with them so much.
Right.
Because Carson by herself is always like super well behaved. She's usually very, very good. But we went to the mall and she just kept losing her damn mind. And it's
Right.
like, we can't even do one thing without you freaking out. Like, what is happening right? And it's been the last few weeks. And she had a lot of time with Jax and she's always hanging out with the neighbor kids.
And that's the thing. Other children's behaviors rub off on your children. So you
Absolutely.
got to watch who your kids hang out with. That's another issue that I'm dealing with lately. There's a lot of neighborhood kids that are into the wrong things. Like, listen, the other day, my car got egged and my house got egged for something that I had nothing to do with. I got 2 chips in the paint on my car that made me go psychotic.
It had nothing to do with the kids and
So my neighbor got got she is making other neighborhood kids. She's like, oh, let's egg that car, like a grown ass woman, a mother out there recruiting kids. And somehow they thought it was my son when it was her son. So my house got egged, my car got egged. I got 2 chips in the paint in my car. And I'm like a psycho when it comes to that stuff. I'm not happy. And
did you
the eggs smelled. I
Oh
still
yeah.
smell it.
Did you call the cops?
No, because you know what? At this point, the
They're
cops
fucking
know me.
useless.
Hey, I'm like, they know me by now.
Oh
They're
yeah.
always so. It's like they don't do anything anyway. The cops. I'm so upset with the system.
As long as you have proof that it was them, I would handle it myself. And if they tried coming after me, I'd just be like, "How come every time I call you when I need help, you ignore me? But now that I do something wrong, you gonna come after me for that?"
Right.
I mean, with how much has happened with you, I feel like you could get away with quite a bit and have a strong case because they've just fucked you around for days now. Like,
Uh, the system is completely broken. The whole
yes,
judicial system, the court system, they are not for. I feel like they're not for women. I'm being honest.
I don't
You might think
know.
differently because you might have had different experiences,
Sure.
but for me, I feel like every time I call the cops, they're like, "Yep, here we go again with this girl," and I become the problem.
I don't know if it is a gender thing. I wonder if it's like a socioeconomic thing because everybody around you is hood rats and all types of stuff. So they don't tell the difference between people who aren't hood rats and who aren't. It's just every time we go out to this neighborhood, we've got a problem. And whenever you have to frequently call, they just get over it and they don't care.
I feel like my number one problem is when I say certain things, people don't validate what I'm saying is going on. Even like things with you, like with like
Mhm.
custody and stuff like that, the courts, it's all paperwork, it's all time, it's all money, it's all a lot of time to go down to those places and sit there and fill out the paperwork and wait to see the judge. And oh, it's mentally draining.
And it might not be like this whenever it's certain types of court, because there are a whole bunch of different types of court.
Right,
Family court and I mean criminal court. Apparently, it's the same way. They just waste your time. No matter what, they don't give you answers. They don't help you. Hell, if you don't have a lawyer, you're pretty much out of luck because even the public attorneys, they're so overworked they can't help you.
right. I just feel like the whole system needs to be restructured to make it more user friendly, less time involved, and for people to get what they need out of it.
And this is a hard thing for people to swallow, but a lot of people say that, and I completely agree with you. The reason the system is the way it is, though, is because of stupid people in the past abusing the system and trying to find ways to get around things. And it literally causes all this paperwork to build up because the court system also has to cover their own ass. So it's like we did this to ourselves, and finding a way to fix it is almost impossible.
And Penny made a good point. When you're going through a situation, you always have to report what's going on,
Mhm.
even if the police don't do anything or it's still your responsibility to continuously have like a running tab.
Oh, and they won't tell you. They won't guide you. They won't help you. It's just you have to figure everything out on your own. And I feel like it's kind of an issue with the internet being a lot of misinformation now. So you go on to try and get help for whatever the heck you're dealing with, because I've had to do that recently, and there's nothing. Like
Right.
there's nothing that I can do, and I don't know what to do at this point either.
It's very frustrating. And it kind of goes into like when you get at that level of frustration, like even with the phone stuff with CVS, when
Mhm.
you're trying to make a phone call and you're continuously going around in that vicious circle where you're not getting the connection that you need, it makes people want to snap.
Do you want to explain that for people
Yes,
that might not know?
yes. So the past few weeks, I've been noticing when I call CVS, usually there's an option that you could press to get somebody, to get the pharmacy to answer the phone. And now they took that option away to where you still go through that phone loop, but you cannot get someone live. You have to leave them a message
Mhm.
in an inbox, and they'll call you back. They don't call back. Come on, it's they're making it like you should be able to call the pharmacy and be like, "Do you have this prescription in stock? I'm looking for." You can't. You got to leave a message now.
Okay, okay. So let me play devil's advocate here. You want me to call you back? Okay, do you want your prescription refilled?
Absolutely.
But we don't have the staffing, so I can't fill your script and call you to answer your question about your script. So which
That's
do you want? See what I'm saying?
and that's the thing. When I go through those loops on the phone and I'm already overstimulated with my kids and I already got A, B, C, and D. Literally yesterday, I was like, "Get up, we're going to CVS." Like ripping up into the parking lot, like, "Yo, you guys don't answer your phone." And the woman's like, "Yeah, you got to leave a message." And I'm like, it, it just makes you feel like you're not valued.
Well, and I don't know about you, but did you like hear any notices about this? Like, did they have a
No.
sign posted?
So, when I posted my video, I had quite a few people say that they noticed the same thing, but were never notified. Like they should have sent, maybe they did. Maybe I just don't pay attention.
That's my thing. I don't know.
But even like I had people that work in the medical field say that it's very frustrating because now they can't even get someone to answer. They have to go to the inbox as well. And this is a doctor that provides Mate.
Well, and they don't care about that.
Right.
The pharmacists
So
don't care
so
about that.
now even the doctor has to go through that inbox. Like what?
But do you think some of that is trying to screen
Understaffed.
calls?
They're understaffed. They're probably sick of people calling asking, "Do you have A, B, C, and D?"
That could be 100% because that's I was reading whenever we started talking about this. I was reading some Reddit forums that had some of the pharmacists from CVS and all types of other pharmacies, and they were like out of maybe 100 messages that are left, only two or three are actually necessary questions. All of the other ones are like, "What are your hours?" or something
Right.
like that.
I'm sure that they get a lot of bullshit calls,
Right.
but they need to find a better way to screen out the trash to still be able to have that personable relationship with the person that is getting the medication.
So, okay, do you think something like AI would so you get all these calls, you get 100 calls, whatever, you have a algorithm that basically goes through that and searches for keywords or whatever,
Smart. I think
and,
that that's smart.
and
And
maybe it flags those.
a lot of people, and I did read this because I was on Reddit as well over this. A lot of people are saying a lot of CVSs are closing. They're going out of business. They're understaffed right now.
Man, that would suck. I would hate that because we get all our meds from CVS.
But it is a thing. Looking like they're closing a bunch of stores apparently.
Well, in how much of that is because they were just part of that big suit for I can't remember what the lawsuit was, but maybe they just lost so much money there's no other option.
Right, right.
But if I gotta start going to Walgreens for all the kids' meds and my
That
meds and Dan's meds, dude, no way.
and that's what I'm saying. Like I'm not only managing like my own stuff, but I my children are on meds. So it's like when I'm trying to call them to ask them if the ADHD meds are in stock or whatever, because a lot of times they're not.
Right.
It's an issue. Now, what if you don't have a vehicle to be able to get and drive over there? When I was first in recovery, it took me 5 years to get my driver's license back. It took me 5 years. Other than that, I would have been on foot patrol. How does that work for people struggling?
Well, and depending on what the medication is, I mean, if it's that urgent, you'll find a way to get there. Always.
Right.
You kind of don't have a choice.
You got an 80-year-old person that it's just it's very hard for me. I can't imagine what it would be like if I was older and struggling and
Christy said, my pharmacist said, no matter how many calls and voicemails he gets, he has to listen to them within 30 minutes. So listening to them is not so much the problem. It is actually
responding back.
responding. Yeah. And with that, I wonder how much they're trying to push people towards like you have your meds delivered. That could be because that could be a large portion of the workload for a lot of pharmacists if everything is getting delivered. But I can't remember if you can do controlled substances in that. Do you know?
I'm not really sure about that. I thought that you couldn't for some reason,
You
but they
can get
could have.
subs.
I've never had meds delivered.
I'm pretty sure you can get subs delivered.
You actually no. In New Jersey, years ago, I used to have all kinds of narcotics delivered. They would just come to my house, but it was a mom and pop pharmacy at the time.
And that might be, I wonder how much of this too, all the CVS's closing and everything, I wonder how much is due to regulations. Like there's so much going on with opiates and all the lawsuits, all the red tape they have to go through. It might have cost them so much money. It's not even, it's they can't do anything about it.
And that's the issue with a lot of the big box pharmacies, though.
Mhm.
They're so overworked.
So okay, they're so overworked. They need to get staff in. My thing is they're doing stuff like this, the calling thing, to make sure the staff that is there is more productive with their time, and to make sure that the people there can handle things that are actually important, right? But it's it's kind of counterproductive because like they can't get the manpower in no matter
Right.
what. You can't get people to keep jobs anymore. You can't get people to stay at a job, and yet this is the stuff that is happening because people don't want to go to work and keep the job.
Right. And no different than like you and I were talking earlier. When you go to a grocery store and you have a cart full of shit and
Mm-hmm.
you're guided to the self checkout because no one's working, they don't have anybody scanning. That right there frustrates me, especially as like a mom that is already overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
My kids are always making the light go off. The people have to keep coming. I hate it.
I don't know how you get people to want to work. Like what do you do? Because we literally have an entire generation now that, and I don't want to be that old fucking fart that's like, oh, the generations suck. But there are so many kids nowadays that are going into that working age and all that. One, half of them are making like 16, $17 an hour starting, which is crazy. But on top of that, like they won't show up. Whenever they do show up, they don't do their fucking job. It's the amount of people that I see on the pest control side with the one that I'm not in charge of, and my business, that they literally are just useless. It's crazy. And it's not all of them, but it's a lot.
I've noticed a change because when I was younger, I used to babysit. I would babysit like four babies at the age of like 7 by
Mhm.
myself in a house. My kids don't even know how to tie their shoes. Like,
Yeah.
hello, what changed? Like, even looking at my son, he's 13, and I'm thinking, damn, when I was his age, I was already doing drugs. Like, and the shit that I was doing. But when I look at my son, I see he's a little more innocent, which I like that.
Which is good. So do you think it's innocent or do you think it's numb? Because kids see so much nowadays that just because they have access to everything, it's they just don't react the same way we do or we did to certain situations. Like you got to realize, unlike back whenever we were kids, you can open up your phone now, you can
Right?
see
You can
people
Google whatever.
dying.
If you want to see what A, B, C, and D looks like, you could just go right
Hmm.
up on your phone. Right. It's
Hmm.
different. I think social media, I think like Google and the web and all that is what changed the kids.
It's largely social media because everything's at the tip of your fingers. It's crazy.
Erin is right. They're desensitized. That's the
Yeah.
word, desensitized. And the other thing that's been bothering me lately, I don't think that my kids know the value of a dollar. They don't. I like I will go to the grocery store. I'm spending a few $100s like every other day at the grocery store.
Mhm.
Literally, I can't keep doing that. Like they don't understand the value of a dollar, and it really, I'm trying to get them age appropriately to try to learn at least, because it's hard. They think that like, oh, mommy can buy, they just start throwing shit in the cart, and
Yep.
like I'm thinking like, damn, do I even have the money at the end? Like,
That's how Talon is, with the food, and just he got his job finally, so it was just like, okay, maybe he'll understand work is hard. It wasn't a crazy job or anything, but still, work is hard. You have to do it, but I don't think he's going to get it because he only made it 6 days.
wow.
It's just, and it was the same patterns that we have been trying to get him out of for a very long time, and there's nothing we can do about it. He's got to fail on his own, and whenever he gets out of it, I think at some point it'll click. It's just I hope that a ton of stuff doesn't happen for it to click. You know what I mean?
Right. I think in life we have to go through certain traumas in order to like be complete. It makes you who you are.
Kids now, like, they don't play outside anymore, not the same way. And
Right.
you remember back in the day, like, we would be outside, and
Riding bikes.
we crashed our bike into a damn brick wall and came home with our face black and blue, and mom and dad would just be like, you good? Yep, I'm good. That happened now, oh my gosh, it would be the end of the world. But they don't even get that chance for things like that to happen now
Right.
because they're just inside on their electronics.
Right. It all goes down to social media and Google and the web. And it's true because when we were growing up, we had to learn things. Either I learned a lot on my own.
Yeah.
I wasn't taught the necessary coping mechanisms at all.
So that's a very good point. You did have to learn on your own because it was
I
just
did.
you and your homies.
Right.
You were out, and whenever it got dark, you could finally go home and hopefully, do whatever.
And like if you were outside, like we used to explore the woods and stuff, like we would know our way out. These kids would get lost.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah,
Right.
in a heartbeat. And I wonder how much of it is the fact that, too, if they don't have to figure things out, because if they need the answer to something, they can get the answer to almost anything instantly. So whenever they can't get the answer to something, they just like give up because they haven't had to search for that answer.
Which goes to instant gratification. That
Mhm.
is something that I always like to talk about because I feel like I'm the same way. I want that instant gratification right away. That's what I'm searching for. But you have to learn patience. You have to slow yourself down. There's balance. You can't be up here, like you have to figure it out from here on down, all the way
Yeah.
through.
Do you think numbers for addiction and substance abuse are possibly raising because of that?
Oh, 1,000%. Because, and TikTok's another one. These
Hmm.
kids, like even myself, I've noticed, I can't sit and watch a TV show. I don't have the attention span. I need that like flick.
Uh, I want see, and I
It's
wonder if I got affected by that.
because listen, TikTok is like instant gratification. You're flicking through. Other things take a longer amount of time, so I think that it changes the kids' brains. It makes them think,
Oh,
right,
it
that they need
it
it right
absolutely
there,
does.
right there.
Yeah, and
So
it absolutely does for sure.
they don't learn patience though. In between, they got to learn patience. Like you might not get that right away, sweetheart. You got to wait.
I never got into scrolling. That's not to say I don't get on social media and scroll here and there, but I talk to people that say they will scroll for hours on TikTok. Scrolling on TikTok for me is like 5, 10 minutes. I might watch one or two videos, but
No,
I have
people get
other things
lost
to
in it.
do.
And then these kids, they don't have the attention span to watch not even a 30-minute television show. Back in the
Right.
day, our parents could put us in front of the TV and we would be mesmerized.
Yep.
Today, These kids don't give two F's about watching a show. They don't want to go watch a movie because they can't focus. They need that instant gratification.
That is actually something that I wanted to talk about too. There are a couple of things that tie into this, but movies are not like going to the theater and everything like that. It's not booming the same way it used to be.
Right. Because think about it. People don't really have the attention span anymore. Everything is fast paced today.
I think it's a couple of things because it's not as big of a deal anymore. Like you used to go and take your date out to the movies, and it would actually be like a big deal to go. On top of that, you have streaming, which streaming half the time it's instant. You don't have to put out all that advertisement money for those big box office hits and everything. You can just go put it on Netflix, and people will see it. It'll get recommended, and you're good. So it's crazy, crazy amounts of money that they're spending to make a movie or series, whatever, and it's all going down the drain. And
I I could care too less about going to I could care less about going to a movie or the movie theater.
really,
I hate it.
what don't you like about it?
You know what it is? I can't sit still. I can't focus. I would be on my phone the whole time.
Really? Oh, I would hate. We are never going to a movie together. I'm
Dude,
sorry.
I haven't been to the movies in like 10 years probably. I'm not even kidding.
Really?
I don't
See,
have
I don't.
I don't even care about I don't watch TV. I don't watch movies. I don't know.
You just it can't hold your attention span.
Right. I used to
Even
be a
even though a lot of movies nowadays it's a lot quicker. They're all more fast paced. You
I
still
could care less, right? So I could see a lot of people because the internet is so quick and fast paced that it is affecting the movies probably.
that's interesting. How do you do I don't know, like if you had to write an email for work, how would you do? Would you be
You really want to know?
and I'm talking no kids, no nothing, no distractions. It's just you and a computer. You got to write an email for work.
You know what I would do?
Oh, you
Chat.
use yeah, you use AI.
I would use Chat GPT, put in a few little words, and pump it right out.
I'm so disappointed in you right now. Why? Okay.
Because because Kyle, I don't have the time with my kids constantly riding me to like focus. If that's what it is.
But I'm talking no kids. If kids were out of the
Yeah,
equation.
I would cheat. I would use Chat GPT.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, see, I think the Chat GBT, I've used it a couple of times. It does okay. It's just you can tell it's fake.
I don't care. Hey, my kid's school for the IEP wanted me to put something in writing. I had that email to the school in like 2 minutes. The lady was sitting there like she was like, you spit that. It was so professional too. It was so professional. They were looking at me like, yup,
See,
she just did that.
I can't do stuff like that.
I think all it's doing is making you, it's cheating time basically. I don't have enough time in the day. Bro, for me to get this 1 hour with you, it is like pulling teeth to try to bribe my kids to be able to sit here with you every week.
I feel like that's almost the problem for you though. It's not that you don't have the time. You are not being allowed the time because of
Right,
circumstances.
right, absolutely.
It's that's the thing that's got to change, and I just don't know how because there's so many things that you could do if and the problem is you are like training yourself to almost work fast in those environments where you don't need to just because you're used to having to do that because of the kids.
Right.
I feel like that's hurting you. I don't know. We need people to come up with recommendations. I don't know how much everyone pays attention to stocks. I have been doing a lot of stuff with stocks lately because I'm trying to make sure I am set. with extra money for the business, all types of stuff. But one of the ones that I watch is Indivore, just because it's interesting and I'm always curious.
A lot of people don't even know what Indivore is. Let's go with that first. Like some people in here might not even know what that is.
So we're talking makers of pure
Suboxone,
subs,
sub,
Sublocade, not Brixadi, that's different. They make something else. That type of stuff, MAT
right.
medication. So whenever subs were put out for like any doctor could prescribe them, and they started being kind of heavily pushed for pain management and all types of stuff, the stock skyrocketed like crazy. And if you kind of follow the trend, it just like kind of goes steady for a little bit, goes down a little bit, and then breaks off completely. And I'm kind of wondering if doctors are using it and like just yanking people right away, because that's
Or
what I've heard the most of.
or we're losing people to the streets. Like people are like F the MAT.
Which can you blame them though? Because a lot of them, and it's not even the people with substance use disorder. It's the people with chronic pain because they're getting out there. They got their medication for so long, they were switched to subs, and then all of a sudden they have to take this thing that isn't working for them because it's not prescribed properly, and they're just like, screw it, I'm not going to take any of that anymore. My buddy has some pills, and then they
Right.
end up getting some fent. It
And
just,
that's how we're losing people
mhm.
to the street. I really feel like a lot of doctors, I get so many messages of people that doctors don't even know. I feel like I know more about Sublocade than some of the people's doctors. I'm
Easily.
serious.
Yeah.
I've had people message me like, oh, I can't get my shot because of A, B, C, and D. And I'm like, you actually can get your shot. Your
Mhm.
doctor's wrong. Like their doctors are going against with the wet. You could Google it. My friend that was in here earlier had an issue with that. Their doctor was telling incorrect information. Now he's going, instead of doing this shot and all that, he's going to go try in Vegas with Justin and them.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
The problem is, and you just said it though, you can go Google it. There is so much misinformation online also
Right.
that not only do the doctors not actually know the real facts, but neither does the patient. And they'll both be arguing about like the wrong thing and both be wrong because the information is just ass backwards.
And another point that I want to make, especially with Sublocade, some of these doctors they're not confident in giving the shot yet because they don't have the experience. You
Mhm.
really need to go to someone that is confident, someone that you know and trust, because some of these doctors are not injecting it correctly and then people don't come back.
I have said that ever since like day one. Almost every single person I've ever talked to, whenever it's came to Sublocade or anything, it has been the doctor doesn't administer properly every single time.
But can I make it another point?
Yeah.
As a patient, it is your responsibility to make sure that you are confident in that doctor. I would not trust anyone with my recovery unless I truly felt that they had my best interest at heart. Some of these doctors don't make people feel confident. You have to be confident in your doctor because they are helping you alongside of your recovery journey.
But what if you don't have any other options?
What do you mean? Options like what?
Maybe you don't have transportation, and there's only one clinic, and that's all you got. You know what I mean? Because that's happening to a lot of people. There are so few clinics in some areas that they have one choice for getting the shot, and the
No,
doctor.
I understand that. Then that's where if I didn't feel confident in the doctor, I would not make a medication change. I'm sorry, but it comes down to the patient's responsibility as well.
Yeah, and I agree. It's a lot of them are getting forced onto it, or
Right.
there's like medical issues, or something else is going on, and that's why they're switching to the shot. And then that's the type of trouble they're running into. Because even still, whenever you start looking up like how many clinics and everything there are that can actually do Sublocade, I don't know why it's not more yet. It's crazy how few there are.
Right. And then the other thing is that I'm going to be honest, I get a lot of messages about Brixati and the
Mhm.
docent not being correct, people struggling. And I even talked to my own doctor about this, and my doctor said when they first started doing the dosing for Brixati, they were kind of under medicating people. And now they realize that those small doses that they were offering, the doctor needs to up that dose in order for that person to be successful. Because it's so new, they're still playing around with what works and what doesn't work. It makes sense. It's new.
But it doesn't. You want to know what scares me like crazy with that? They have to go through so many clinical trials, or
No,
there was so much money and research that got thrown out making sure that this could be launched. And so why are so many people having that issue? Was it launched early? Did they not actually do the research? Did they have the wrong information in the first place?
I feel like there's so much misinformation.
Hmm.
And I get messages of people saying, like, my doctor told me A, B, C, and D. And I'm like, actually, go to Google. Your doctor's wrong. Like, they're
It's
literally giving incorrect information, and it enrages me.
Yeah. And again, okay, so Hitman just said it. Nothing is fact checked. We've said it a couple of times. If you go to Google, make sure it's legit sources. So many people do not know how to Google. That is a giant problem because that's where a lot of misinformation comes from. But you're absolutely right. And the thing, even with Sublocade, so Brixati is a little bit more, you have that wiggle room where you can actually play with the milligrams a little bit and
You could do the same with Sublocade. You can. It's because the doctors are told not to split the dose, but a
right.
lot of doctors do. Even Dr. Nichols said you can make that rate down to the milligram because it's in the shot. It's all individualized, but doctors don't realize that yet. And
And
that's what they need to do.
And you're exactly right. And that is something, the problem is because you aren't supposed to do that, the
Right.
research is not in place. And so that's why Brixati was this miracle thing, which people had already been doing it
I've
anyways.
talked to Indivore, like on the phone. I've called them and had a conversation and told them, like, people are struggling. Like, a lot of times there's misinformation about the shot. It's sad that they can't, like, they make so much money that they can't have somebody give it, like, making commercials, make it, putting out accurate resources and accurate information.
I don't, has there even been any actual sub commercials? There has. I've
Yes,
seen one.
I've actually seen a Sublocade one as well, but they are not, they should be pumping out more social, more commercials, more education, because it's not there. It's not for the patient. Support, they need to offer more support.
But okay, I see what you're saying. There are a couple things going on with that though. One, how restricted are people with a controlled substance? Because that is probably a lot of the problem. You can probably only do so much because you can't promote a controlled substance the same way you would like a diabetes
So
medication.
you're right. So with Sublocade, I actually I reached out to them,
Right,
and
right.
my doctor hooked me up with a Sublocade rep in the local area because she thought that maybe I could help, like, get the word out or whatever. When I did have contact with the person from Sublocade, they told me I would have to erase my social media because you can,
Hmm.
and they wanted one of those things signed.
Yeah. NDA,
Yes,
non-disclosure.
they wanted, and the woman even told me you would be better off doing what you're doing right now than coming with us, because if you come with us, you're not going to help as many people, and that's sad.
No, because they own you too.
Right?
You,
She told me
yeah.
you wouldn't be able to have any social media, you wouldn't be able to tell your story because of the NDA, and I don't want to do that. The thing that's missing is connection. These companies need to give better resources so people understand. Like somebody that's already been through it, like Kyle, you would be great to be the person to explain, like titrating down, how to do it, what you're
Sure.
feeling, what you're going to go through.
So they might also not be able to because you can only handle so many aspects of a of something like that, of a business like that, because you already have the control, and right now they have one of the only patents, so they have control of the medication. If they start trying to corner the market on how it is, how the aftercare is, they could be legally came after, because then it becomes like a monopoly on that thing. Does that make sense? you
Uh,
you have to be very, very careful business wise, because if you start, I'm trying to think of a good example. um like if you make milk, let's say. You don't really make milk, but you know what I mean.
right.
So you make milk and you are the only person that makes milk or close to it.
So it's like a monopoly. I understand.
Sure. And you have a couple other people, doing all this stuff. They're making almond milk, whatever, but you are the only one for milk. And then you are also the only one. You start branching out because people need ice cream too. Okay, now you've got ice cream. Now you've got butter. Now you've got, so you all of a sudden have all these parts of the dairy industry, but each one is causing its own individual problem. That becomes a problem on the business side, because there are so many corner the market. Thank you. Because it's just like, if there's no competition, you can kind of charge whatever you want. So there are a lot of laws in place keeping that from being a thing. So it might not even be that the company doesn't want to help people in that regard and help with the aftercare and help with all the nitty gritty stuff, but they literally might be so chopped off with red tape they can't.
But I also feel like it's their responsibility. It's medication. It's something that they're putting into someone else's body. I feel like that's being responsible to do the aftercare, to see someone from the beginning all the way through. And I feel like that's what they're missing. That that humanity, that humanizing people.
We're talking about pharmaceutical companies, homie. They
I
don't have
know,
no humanity.
but I feel like that's what they're lacking. Like they really need that connection with people.
So that's where technically rehabs and detox centers should have filled that void, and they should be working, because this is how you actually do it. You make the medicine, somebody else has the rehab center, somebody else has the counselor and all that other stuff. Somebody else holds special AA meetings, whatever, it doesn't matter. But different people uh, own and organize these separate different things, but they all work together. That is a big thing. The problem is you have so many medication companies, so many rehabs, so many, all these corrupt pieces of the cog and everything, that it
Right.
just gets lost in translation all over the place.
No, I know. I know they're like big corporations and all this, like, but also think about all the money that they make.
Oh,
They
yeah.
right, like, come on now. I see both
Yeah.
sides of it. I can see both sides. I just think that they need a little bit better bridging to people.
Completely agree. I don't know how that could ever happen. That's why I wouldn't mind opening a rehab center though, because it, you have to have people running that type of thing that are actually going to be open and honest,
Right.
and there's not a lot of that out there. The stigma keeps the meds unknown, and that's true too. Stigma is a huge part of why a lot
Right.
of people don't know about that stuff also. because even on here, when we talk about it, we get blocked all over the place.
Right. And they don't want this information pushed out. That's why a lot of times certain things you can't really talk about openly. It's crazy.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't really care about that anymore. I'll talk about whatever I can.
Right. Hey, it is what it is, right?
A committee that oversees everything. I actually kind of like that.
I like that too. I feel like the committee also needs to include people that are in recovery.
And that's the thing. It can't just be random people that have never actually dealt with the industry.
No, that's why I was saying you would be the perfect example of somebody that wants to titrate. Then you have the person that did Sublocade. Then you have people that do Brixati. If we all come together, we can work together to help people because there's somebody that's been through each circumstance.
Right. Yeah, and that's the problem. It is literally all red tape in the way of actually making real progress, which is why America gets nowhere. A lot of businesses get nowhere. A lot of these problems become a continuous thing. There is so many people have ruined so much crap by abusing power and stuff in the past, and it's screwed a lot of things up for good people.
We were also talking earlier about how like the school systems are just passing these kids through. It's
Yeah.
something that I'm struggling with in my household because I have three kids that have IEPs. They never listen to what I say. My kids went from one school to a different school, but the
Mhm.
first school just passed them through. Like they are struggling and so behind because no one ever listened and gave them the services that I was trying to fight for.
So a lot of that changed too with COVID. And
Right.
I think COVID literally screwed everything up because that was not as bad of a thing before COVID.
And I
Um,
think that when COVID happened and they stopped school, the kids should have stayed in that grade, and everyone should have been left behind because I
but
feel like it would help them.
but how? You're gonna tell just because of COVID you're 20 years old and 2 years behind everyone else and you're just now graduating?
Because actually, they weren't in front of a teacher, they weren't in a real classroom, they didn't learn from me. So,
Well, right. And the problem is though you can't hold everyone back too just because a few people are struggling because we are talking about it probably went from like I don't know 4 or 5% of kids who are struggling pretty hardcore to because of COVID maybe 10-15% were struggling a lot, but at the same time that is only a small portion of all the kids.
I feel like those numbers are higher. I'm sorry, but I do.
And they may be, but I don't think it's that high, homie. There was a lot of struggle that first little bit getting used to doing online learning and getting all everything ironed out. But after that, I don't think it's that crazy. And
I
it's
don't know. That's not what I've seen, and that's not what my like this the schools literally just push the kids through like yep they're my kids are like a few grades behind now. I'm serious, I've seen it with my own two eyes, like,
yeah.
and I don't know how to help because I'm not a teacher. I don't have the patience to sit and like I don't even know how to do the work is over my head. It really
Well,
is the math. You got to be kidding me.
the math is stupid because they change how to do one plus
Right.
one every year. But so are both the boys are the same exact way on my end. But
Right.
it's they're whenever you look at the school as a whole, because I've been watching a lot of other kids, they may not be doing amazing, but they can get through school no problem. It's a smaller percentage at least. It's not 50%. That's kind of where they would have to start drawing a very clear line in the sand and figure something out because you got over half struggling. You know what I mean?
I feel like those numbers might be higher. I don't know. For some reason, I do.
I'm
I just,
curious now.
I'm curious now
I'm
myself
curious. Yeah.
because I've even talked to teachers and like the school psychologists when I did my son's IEP, and they
Mhm.
said that since COVID, they have seen so many children that are just spinning their wheels because they didn't learn at home.
Right.
They might not have been engaged and in front of the screen. Their parents might have been like, F it and let them do whatever.
Even if it was at first it was 2% and it went to geez, 2% and it went to 6%. You got to think
Right.
about that though. That is three times the amount of kids all of a sudden are struggling. That's still a very small number, but it's way more than before. And I wonder how much that was the change.
I'm looking it up
You're
right
good. You're
now.
good. You're good. And then I don't know. It's part of it is the world is getting softer. So
Things have
it's
really changed. Since
yeah.
COVID, things have changed.
Yeah, it has changed drastically.
It has.
One of the problems was they didn't know how long it was going to last either.
So I'm looking at this and it says 1 in 3 parents are concerned about their children's education since COVID. 32% of parents believe their child has been impacted since COVID with actually learning and retaining information.
That's not what we need, though. That's not useful.
Right. It's all different. I don't know. I just feel like since COVID, the world has changed for the worse.
Yeah, we're so the type of information we would actually need is we would need how many kids got held back, but the problem is they aren't holding kids back
But
anymore
that's the thing.
for
They
mental
weren't,
health.
no one really got held back.
Right.
There's no child left behind law. So they get pushed
Because
through.
that's literally so what we probably need is how many kids from before COVID on average were like failing in a group of 500, and then look at after COVID how many kids were failing in a group of 500 and kind of compare and contrast. I don't
Right.
think there'd be another way we could you could actually find that information because you're right, they don't hold kids accountable anymore, they don't hold them back. uh,
But it's
I,
like, how do you teach a child responsibility and
mhm.
good work ethic in this world? Like,
They don't need
how can you better teach your child to be prepared for the harshness of and reality of this world?
we've become so adamant on making sure that mental health is focused on. Totally agree, totally understand, but you don't give homework anymore to teach you.
Right.
Like you have to be responsible for your homework. You have a task to complete and you have to bring it back the next day. That is a very simple structured thing that you have dates that you have to turn certain things in, so you have deadlines. Those are very important life lessons
They
that
are.
kids don't get anymore because they've never had homework. I haven't seen kids have homework in years now.
Me either. And that's part of the problem because I feel like doing a few math questions or doing a quick worksheet is what keeps your brain like focused and on the right track and
Right.
fresh with things. Years ago, I can remember doing, hey, do you remember this? This is going to be a blast from the past. Do you remember doing dioramas or am I aging myself?
No, I remember dioramas. In sixth
Have
grade,
you
I had
seen
Egyptian gods. That was my favorite one.
and have you seen the kids don't do dioramas. They don't do boxes with things in them anymore. What happened to that? Where did that go?
You know what else I haven't seen? Group projects.
Right.
They may work on them in school, but they don't work on them outside of school. Where like the kids are again responsible for making sure everyone gets together and communicates and stuff like that. That's gone.
Right. And like everyone gets together, everyone has the supplies, we
Hmm.
follow the directions, we
Hmm.
build the volcano, we
Yeah,
make
yeah,
it
yeah.
so that it bursts. We don't have like I my kids don't do stuff like that. Why? Where did that go?
It's,
You know what else? I want to make a point. Holidays. When I was in school, we used to make like crafts around Christmas and um, you know, all the holidays. My kids don't come back with shit anymore.
So the reason why is because one kid in the school may not agree with
Participate,
that
right?
holiday, and they don't want that kid to feel left out. So everybody just gets left out.
I don't like that though. I feel like it takes away from like humanizing people and working with people and learning how to have a relationship, a working relationship with someone else.
Well, and it takes away from traditions, and I understand some kids are not going to do the same things, and that's okay. But it takes away from tradition. It takes away from like something to actually look forward to, because kids don't even have to look forward to the weekend anymore because they get so many damn days off during the week and they don't have to do anything else. So what's it fucking matter?
I can even remember like blowing up a balloon and putting paper mache around it, like getting your hands dirty, working with things, being artistic, being creative. I don't see that in the school system today. I don't.
Penny's right. It's like everyone gets a trophy no matter what. Bullshit. You got to earn that. You want a trophy? Win. If you don't, try harder next time. Like that teaches you something. It's literally just the fact that they do not want kids doing homework and projects and all that stuff because it takes away from mental health time. That's what it is. 100%. 1,000%.
Well, I just feel like there's certain things that we did growing up that are like staples that should continue, and they don't. It's weird to see certain things fall off like the face of the world.
School is not, I don't agree with everything in school. I do not think, like back whenever we had the responsibility and had to go to school, they gave a shit ton of work. Like every single day you were busting your ass doing all types of work and it sucked. I do not think that they should give as much homework as we had to do, but some make sense. You know, I get kids need to spend more time with their families because that was another reason they cut back homework and everything, but they aren't spending time with their families. They're spending time on their phones.
Right.
It's giving them a excuse to do everything on a phone or a laptop or something. And it just, I don't know. It's weird.
It is. Times have changed for sure.
Yeah, nothing else crazy going on. We don't have any updates. We will have more fun next weekend. We will be back to another guest. And if y'all need anything, you know, to message us, don't be afraid to reach out if you need help. We love you guys, and we'll see you next time.